I'm the weekend guy coming to you live from Johannesburg, South Africa. And today we're going to be doing a reaction to yesterday's Springbok game in Italy, in Turin, where the Springboks were victorious in a 32-17 victory against Italy. To kick off the show, guys, what a game from the Springboks yesterday. What a shockingly surprising game from the world champions yesterday. They displayed the kind of character which we didn't think they had in them to be so, to be able to adapt to extreme situations. So Tatenda is going to be asking me a few questions, but before we go into the questions, I just want to give, just a pre-summary of what happened yesterday. Basically, the boys were tested to the limit yesterday in terms of coaching, players, player intelligence, game IQ, and they passed with flying colors. So that being said, Tatenda, fire your shot, man. Okay, so for me, the biggest turning point of the game was the red card. Franco Mostert was red carded for a sort of dangerous play tackling the, I don't know the Italian player's name. But this has happened for 2 games in a row. So last week we were playing France. So the same thing happened again. We're down to 14 men for the entire game, people. And this is where the talking point is in terms of, was that an out and out red card? Should it have been sent up for review to the bunker, something called the bunker, where the other referees determine the severity of the actual tackle, if it was dangerous or not, and then the player can get like a 20-minute red card where after 20 minutes we can substitute the player and replace him, or it's a permanent red card. That's like what happened against France and what happened yesterday against Italy. So these are kind of things, these are kind of questions that World Rugby needs to try and rectify, because a scenario like this, a debatable red card, can happen in a World Cup final. What do we do then? World Rugby needs to come and intervene and actually educate their referees. Is it worth us? Is it beneficial for the game to have 20-minute or permanent red cards? So should we have like a 20-minute red card, or should we have like a permanent red card? Because in the spirit of the game, we can't compare rugby to soccer and say, once you get a red card, you're finished. You see what I'm saying? We have to give players a chance because we're not as big as soccer. Rugby is not as big as soccer. So you can't afford to play against 13 men or 14 men. It just spoils the game. So it's just that yesterday, obviously, the Springboks being the #1 team in the world, they were able to adapt because of our player depth within our ranks. But another nation, if they were to go down to 14 to 13 men, it's an obvious loss. Okay, so for us, and this will always be the difference between us and the other rugby playing nations. Urasi has built a 23-man team. Obviously, we've got about 450,000 rugby players, active rugby players in the country. So our depth charts are out of the roof, like they're not of this world. No other nation has this kind of depth we have in terms of being able to put on 18 players. In terms of when I talk about A team, I'm talking about elite players at any club, elite starting players, but they are the 8 starting on the bench. In a situation whereby we go down to 13 or 14 men, the players being brought on are at such a high level that they are able to adapt to any scenario which comes on, which they are faced with. So in terms of that, we look at the game from that perspective. Is that what actually helped us and assisted us as the Springboks was having the depth of the bench to come on and do something in the game. Yeah, so for me, the exact difference made by the Springboks was the composure. Composure under pressure, going down 13 men with no panic at all. No other team in World Rugby can be able to, go down to 13 men and be able to keep the opposition from scoring for such a long period of time. The physicality, game IQ, and I always mention this. Our players now are at a level whereby we can't even doubt their game IQ. Game IQ means you make a tackle, you get up. This is what I'm saying. Correct tackle technique, get up, get back to defense. That's what I'm saying. Look left, look right, you go, where you need to be as a forward, for example. So the guy wearing #1 on his back, he has to get up. If he's the one making the tackle, the guy wearing #2 was supporting him. The guy wearing #3 is supposed to be covering where #1 and #2 is supposed to be in the lineup. But obviously, you'll find that sometimes The guy wearing number 3 is covering the guy wearing number 12's position. Now, that's not game IQ. You know what I'm saying? Look at that in terms of where we are, how we teach the players, and this is the fundamentals of rugby, guys. You have to have the game IQ to understand the game plan. Game plan says, make the tackle, get up and stand in a specific position. Don't make the tackle and take your own time to get up and then go stand. Wait, you understand what I'm saying? The game is moving so fast that you won't have time to go and remember, oh shit, I'm supposed to be standing right there, but I'm here. So those are kind of mistakes, and those kind of mistakes will get you dropped. But if you look at the Springboks gameplay, it's elite. It's currently the standard in terms of in world rugby, the way they are doing their things, the way they are coordinating their attack, defense, post-game, pre-game preparations. They're top-notch. They are the team to beat, actually. So what happens is when you go down to 13 men, you are 2 guys short. Yeah? So it was forwards. I think it was forwards and another guy, but mostly we're short in the forwards. So that brings about 2 scenarios. Breakdown, you're short in numbers. Line out, you're short in numbers. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the attacking team, a very good elite team like England, Ireland, New Zealand, Australia, those kind of teams, they're able to make the most of the advantage they have, basically, and the Springboks. That's what I'm saying. So if you look at the breakdown, normally if you have 2 guys, so it's normally in rugby, if the guy is coming from a set piece kind of scenario, né? Obviously it will be one person going into contact because it's only, let's say we coming from a scrum. Only the backline will be involved because the rest of the team, all the forwards are involved in the scrum. Né? So when it comes to breakdown, that's why Italy now have the numbers, have the extra numbers. If it's from a set piece scenario, Italy would have had the advantage because the first man receiving the ball would have been alone. You see what I'm saying? First receiver of the ball has to take on 2 Italian defenders. One defender brings him down, the other defender goes on top of him to actually grab the ball. And they were quite successful in that endeavor on the breakdown. When it came to breakdown, they were actually quite good. There's this one guy wearing a scrum cap, I just forgot his name. Yeah, even though we were down to 14 men overall in the game, 13 men at some point, our bench, all of them, the guys who came on, Kolisi, the captain for the 2nd match in a row, had to give up his jersey again, be substituted for Andre Estesen, who could play 2 positions in the same game. So I feel like but then it's still the intelligence of the coaching staff to understand that this is what we need to do at this particular moment. This is how you prepare for this particular scenarios, guys. 13 men, I think the worst scenario you can get into in a rugby match, the worst one should be down to 12 men. I mean, then yeah, you're now in trouble. But 14 men, 13 men, at least you can plan around that by having these hybrid players who can play 2 positions and be able to come in when the scrum is against us, we're 8, we're lacking, or when the scrum is ours, we are more, or something like that. You do the vice versa. But so the entire bench who came in, the guys who came in, the substitutions made in the first half because we had to change our young guys. There were young guys being given an opportunity to play yesterday. So they were taken out early in the game. Some experienced guys came on to steady things, bigger, bulkier guys to actually steady the scrums, and then had to lose some of our loose forwards to put in our hybrid. We had 2 hybrids, what I call hybrid players, on the bench yesterday. When they came on, the game changed. And then, the rest of the guys which were supposed to come in, which are Manili Bok, Grant Williams with their pace. So everything changed in our favor. From an Italian perspective or from a Springbok perspective? Italian. Attacking. So attacking is being asserting certain players because we know that, look, the Italian players, not all of them are at our level, basically. Especially, Rico, it's not Rico, but his name is Yaone, his surname. He's the winger, number 11. He was very good under the high ball. That's what I'm saying. So the strategy, when you go down to 14 men or 13 men, you stop kicking the ball to him. That's what I'm saying. You change wings, you challenge the other guy. And our centers as well. Canan Moodie, he's also another kind of hybrid player in the backline, can play number 13 and number 14. So we just switched him up. So now that creates a bit of confusion with the Italian defensive system as well. Because if players switching positions from number 13 to number 14, you don't know who to mark. That's what I'm saying. So there's a whole lot of, so in order for you to counter going down to 14 men, 13 men, you have to be able to switch around your players to make it like you have lots of numbers, whereas you don't. You know what I'm saying? Because you see the same guy with the forwards, back with the back line. You see what I'm saying? So when we're defending, he's with the forwards, set piece time is with the forwards. When we're attacking, he's with the back line, vice versa. So you can't really pinpoint where who's going to be at what time. So gain line, mostly you get it. So what is gain line is when, it's called gain. The word gain means what you've gained from crossing the defensive line. So how many meters you gain after breaching the defensive line, basically. So even if a guy hits you on a tackle, it's all about how many meters you can gain before before the ball is actually on the ground, where you can't play it any longer. So obviously, the biggest factor in our game, in the Springbok game, is that our forwards will always give us as much gain line as we can get, because they're physical, they're big, they're hard to bring down. So mostly for us, I'd say the gain line pressure, the gain line advantage we got was from our forwards, adapting to the current situation and making a plan. You're talking about, that's actually a great question, Tatenda. We're talking about an elite team currently, potentially, going into the 2027 World Cup as favorites. Defending the World Cup, like for the second time. Won it in 2019, won it again in 2023, and then possibly in 2027. They are now on a path which I think, at least as a minimum, they should make the World Cup final. So you're talking about an elite team, guys. They're turning into a once-in-a-generation kind of team because of their coach, Rassie Erasmus, and his coaching staff. They've turned these guys into elite machines who know how to win games. From my perspective, if you look at Italy as a rugby playing nation, I think they're ranked 8th or 9th in the world, I would say it's a game well played for them, because their players showed the kind of resilience which would expect from an 8th or 7th ranked team. They pushed us in the first half, but ultimately, as an Italian rugby fan, Italian rugby supporter, just appreciate your team's effort playing against an elite rugby team, which has proven this entire season that they can adapt to any scenarios in terms of, because France is ranked number 5, they were able to win that match with 14 men. Italy is ranked number 8 or number 9, they were able to win that match with 14 men. That's what I'm saying. So obviously with them, they're looking forward. It's about going to the Six Nations starting in February next year for them. But you have to look at the positives in any performance. This is what we did well. This is what we did wrong, and then you build from that in any performance. They played very well. What a great performance from the team. I can't sit here and question them. They played at the maximum level they could play, based on their world rankings that they're number 7. But otherwise, they played very, very well. No, man, I feel like, because I said on one of my WhatsApp status messages that win or lose, the fact that the coach is blooding in youngsters in these high pressure games can only bode well for the future. Because if you look at it, if you're building for the 2027 Rugby World Cup, which starts on the 10th of September 2027, these players who have faced this kind of adversity in this game played yesterday, they should be better going into the 2027 World Cup because of the experience they gained yesterday. So it can only get better from here. It is already better, but it seems like there's no roof like the coaching team and the Springboks have at the current moment. No ceiling. This week, Ireland, we're down 2 locks because of the red cards. 2 locks suspended. 2 number 5 locks suspended. Number 5 locks, the guys wearing number 5 on their backs, they're the ones who do the calls in the line-out. So come line-out time, they are the ones who make the decision which jumper is receiving the ball according to their training. So if normally if it was another team, would definitely be in trouble. But obviously with the kind of depth we have, we've got Uruan Nukia, who's a proven number 5 lock at this current stage. So we're not really worried. Rassie is not going to call up any new number 5 lock to come up. 2 more games to go and our season is over for this year. So I feel like the guys who are there can do the job against Ireland. Ireland are not exactly firing on all cylinders at the moment, so it should be an interesting game. But the Boks still go in as favourites, especially if you play the first team. Yes, because if you look at it, the main goal of this year, with 2 games remaining, is to become the #1 ranked team in the world. The reason for that is because in 2027, the World Cup draw is coming up in December, next month. The World Cup draw for the 2027 World Cup is next month in December. So if you are ranked #1, it gives you an easier group. You have these minor teams in your group. So it's easier to qualify. That's what I'm saying. It's easier to go to the next round. Now, obviously, with that in mind, it also affects your planning in terms of when the World Cup draw comes and goes. The teams you are drawn against, it's easier to plan your players you're going to take to the World Cup. So this gives an opportunity to our older players as well to be able to be on the plane to Australia. Adversity, courage, and execution. Execution. They were able to execute the plan, even though it didn't seem likely they were going to be able to do it, but they were able to execute and come back with a W. Usia always comes out because of the 60th minute kind of thing. So for me, it's generally a team effort. It's 33 men on tour, understanding and having a proper, clear vision of what the coaches want, and they're delivering on the field. It can only get better. That's all I'm going to say. It can only get better for the Springboks. It can only get better from here for us as South Africans.